Current theories on the creation of the universe state that, if it was created at all, and didn't just start, as it were unofficially, it came into being between 10 and 20,000 million years ago. By the same token, the Earth itself is generally supported to have been at least 4,500 million years old. These dates are incorrect. Medieval Jewish scholars put the date of the creation at 3760 BC. Greek Orthodox theologians put the creation as far back as 5508 BC. These suggestions are also incorrect. Archbishop James Ussher, 1580 to 1656, published Annales Vertius of the Novi Testaments in 1654, which suggested that the heaven and the earth were created in 4004 BC. One of his aides took the calculation further and was able to announce triumphantly that the earth was created on Sunday, the 21st of October, 4004 BC, at exactly 9 o'clock a.m., because God liked to get work done early in the morning while he was feeling fresh. This too was incorrect, by almost a quarter of an hour. The whole business with the fossilized dinosaur skeletons was a joke the paleontologists haven't seen yet. This proves two things. Firstly, that God moves in extremely mysterious, not to say circuitous ways. God does not play dice with the universe. He plays an ineffable game of his own devising, which might be compared, from the perspective of any of the players, to being involved in an obscure and complex version of poker in a pitch-dark room with blank cards for infinite stakes, with a dealer who won't tell you the rules and who smiles all the time. Secondly, Earth is a Libra. The astrological prediction for a Libra is, your stars today, column of the Tadfield Advertiser, on this day in history begins, read as follows. Libra. September 24th, October 23rd. You may be feeling run down, and always in the same old daily round. Home and family matters are highlighted and are hanging fire. Avoid unnecessary risks. A friend is important to you. Shelve major decisions until the way ahead seems clear. You might be vulnerable to a stomach upset today, so avoid salads. Help could come from an unexpected quarter. This is perfectly correct on every count, except for the bit about salads. It wasn't a dark and stormy night. It should have been, but that's the weather for you. For every mad scientist who's had a convenient thunderstorm just on the right night that his great work is finished and lying on the slab, there have been dozens who have sat around aimlessly under the peaceful stars while Igor crocks up the overtime. Don't let the fog, with rain later, temperatures dropping to around 45 degrees, give anyone a false sense of security. Just because it's a mild night doesn't mean that dark forces aren't abroad. They're abroad all the time. They're everywhere. They always are. That's the whole point. Two of them lurked in the ruined graveyard. Two shadowy figures, one hunched and squat, the other lean and menacing. Both of them Olympic-grade lurkers. If Bruce Springsteen ever recorded Born to Lurk, these two would be on the album cover. They had been lurking in the fog for an hour now, but then pacing themselves and could lurk for the rest of the night, if necessary, with enough sullen menace left for a final burst of lurking around dawn. Finally, after another 20 minutes, one of them said, "Bugger this for a lark. Should have been here hours ago." The speaker's name was Hastur. He was a Duke of Hell. Many phenomena, wars, plagues, sudden audits, had been advanced as evidence for the hidden hand of Satan in the affairs of man, but whenever students of demonology got together, the M25 London orbital motorway is generally agreed to be among the top contenders for Exhibit A. Where they simply go wrong, of course, is assuming that the wretched road is simply evil because of the incredible carnage and frustration that it engenders every day. In fact, very few people on the face of the planet know that the very shape of the M25 forms the sigil Odegra, in the language of the black priesthood of ancient Mu, and means, "Hail the great beast, devourer of worlds." The thousands of motorists who daily fume their way around its serpentine lanes have the same effect as water in a prayer wheel, grinding out an endless fog of low-grade evil to pollute the metaphysical atmosphere for scores of miles around. It was one of Crowley's better achievements. It had taken years to achieve, and had involved 3 computer hacks, 2 break-ins, one minor bribery, and on one wet night, when all else had failed, 2 hours in a squelchy field, shifting the marker pegs a few but occultly incredibly significant meters. When Crowley had watched the first 30-mile-long tailback, he experienced the lovely warm feeling of a bad job well done. It had earned him a commendation. Crowley was currently doing 110 miles per hour, somewhere east of Slough. Nothing about him looked particularly demonic, at least by classical standards. No horns, no wings. Admittedly, he was listening to a Best of Queen tape, but no conclusions could be drawn from this, because all tapes left in the car for more than about a fortnight metamorphosed into Best of Queen albums. No particularly demonic thoughts were going through his head. In fact, he was currently wondering vaguely who Moe and Shandon were. Crowley had dark hair and good cheekbones, and was wearing snakeskin shoes. Or at least, presumably he was wearing shoes. He could do really weird things with his tongue. And whenever he forgot himself, he had a tendency to hiss. He also didn't blink much. The car he was driving was a 1926 black Bentley, one owner from new, and that owner had been Crowley. He had looked after it. The reason he was late was because he was enjoying the 20th century immensely. It was so much better than the 17th, and a lot better than the 14th. One of the nice things about time, Crowley always said, is it was steadily taking him farther away from the 14th century, the most bloody, boring 100 years on God's, excuse his French, earth. The 20th century was anything but boring. In fact, a flashing blue light in his rearview mirror had been telling Crowley for the last 50 seconds he was being followed by 2 men who liked to make it even more interesting for him.